Today, we're working on our 2014 TTR 125, and we're gonna replace the choke cable. All right, so far, taking off the top bolt right up there, and then taking off the actual piece that holds the clutch on. It's just this big plastic nut, 17 millimeter, and then it pops right out of there. And there's screw there, and I believe there's also another one under there. So we're gonna go ahead and pop off these side panels. To do that, this side, you just spin this little key one way, and then it just is some little grommets. There we go, it tugs off, just some little pins and some little grommets. That's your air box. And then it's just a couple 10 millimeters on either side of the seat. Once those two bolts are out, go ahead and grab the back of the seat, lift up the back, and pull it to the rear of the motorcycle. You also don't want to forget to disconnect your fuel line and turn off the fuel when you do that so it doesn't come rushing out of your tank. Okay, side cutters, gotta go ahead, and the choke cable is the one with the gold on it. You can see right there it has the gold on it. I'm gonna go ahead and take my side cutters and chop off these zip ties. There's one, and you guys have this one as well. Snip that off. Awesome, we'll get rid of those. And then now at this point, we can start to feed our choke cable back. So spin the bars the other way, pull it through here, get that there, and then pull this around and up. And there's this little 3 clip for all 3 of them. Now that we're here, there's this little clip that holds all 3 of these lines. So there's 2 for the throttle, and the last one's the choke. Gonna pop it out of that. And then now we're right at the choke where it goes into the carburetor. 14 millimeter wrench. Stick it right in here and undo it. So you can see what I'm undoing here. Crack it loose and then just keep undoing it. It is a little bit tricky in the confined space, but it'll go. There we go, so it's out. Now, little barrel just pulls right out of there. Now we'll take it to the bench. Alright, so over here at the bench, got my 2 choke cables laid out here. I just want to make sure they're the same. Just want to show you, here is the genuine Yamaha part number, if you're doing this yourself. Alright, so here they are. Just going to hold them up together and look. That's looking pretty darn close. The one looks a little bit longer, but I think that should be. So now we're going to go ahead and remove this piece from the rest of it. So I'm going to grab a little 8 millimeter wrench and pop that on there. Here we go, 8 millimeter wrench, 1 wrench, 2 wrench, and there we go. That's loose now. So now this just unthreads. And before we do that, we're actually going to take this bit off. So it just, little end of the barrel, it push down and compress the 2 and pop the little ball out the side. And then the little barrel just pops right out. Right, so we grab the spring off, grab the little barrel off, and now unscrew this. And then pops right off, and then just wiggle the cable out through it. Okay, cut that off, so all the pieces are out now. So what we're going to do is reinstall it all. First thing, install this silver part, put it on there, squeeze it through, and twist it on. And next is this part, which sometimes they have a little clip on them. This one does, and it just slides over, clips in. But before you do that, so let's put this on, so make sure you do that, and don't be silly like me and not put it on. I'm going to put this spring on. It's a little bit bent, but that shouldn't be an issue. Squeeze it all the way through. It's a little bit tricky. Then grab this piece, feed it into the little hole, and then squeak it through, and bam, you're on. Make sure the spring sits on there. There's two little ridges on here. Make sure it sits on there so it sits properly in the carburetor. Alright, so once this is all done, it should be set up like this. Make sure to go ahead and tighten this with your 8mm. And if yours is looking just like this one, you're good to go. Let's install it. Alright, so right here I'm just putting a little bit of grease on it. It's just some regular grease. The reason why this happened in the first place where the choke doesn't stay up is because it's seized and we had got water down in here. Obviously we're just going through too many big puddles and having too much fun. So what happened was this part got seized into the carburetor right in here, and so we had to take it apart and we had to let it sit in some oil for a couple of days, and luckily it came out without us needing a new carburetor. So to prevent that again, I'm just going to go ahead and take this grease and put it on the spring just to try to keep water out there. And yeah, the last time the reason why it failed was because when we were trying to take this off, there's a little screw under here that you can take off. Don't take that one off. I did it. Bad idea. That's why I had to go buy a new cable. So I'm going to try and get a couple different angles. Right there is where the choke is going. So let's install it. Here we go. Got the new piece. Got my little bit of grease that I like. Just going to go ahead and feed it down in there and make sure it fits in there nicely. Jiggle it around. There's an O-ring that's got to pop over. Let's put that in. Sometimes it needs a little bit of persuasion. And then here, little tip. If you pull the end of the choke down, the screw will go in easier because it's compressed, so it's not taking up as much space in there. And make sure it gets set at the right point. And screw it in and then tighten it up with your wrench. Alright, so there we go, nice and tight. Be sure to not over tighten it. Just make sure it's in there snug so you don't strip out the carburetor. Grab some zip ties and we're gonna put them on. So clip it into this little guy with the 3 clamps. And then also clip it into the one up front. Okay, so here, gonna go and also pop it into this little clamp here. There we go. Okay, so we got it clamped in here, and then it runs behind the suspension like this, and just follows all these other cords. So make sure you just follow those. Your other one, zip tie it up here. And that should be good. And then let's go up to the top of the handlebars. Alright, so it's sort of hard to get a good angle here, but here's your brake line. Here's the new clutch that I'm going to install. It goes on this little black bit. So undo the 17mm all the way down. And then put this in. It is keyed, so one side is flat. To make sure you put it in the right way. Spin back on this nut. Grab your 17. And again, not too tight. It's just plastic. You don't want to break it. Alright, so the choke is all in. Now I got to make it look like a bike again. So we're going to start with the gas tank. There we go. Next thing is the seat. There we go.